Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and we're going to call the meeting to order. It's October the 22nd. It's approximately 1:05. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? It's a public safety meeting.
Alderwoman Davis,
Present.
Alderwoman Howard,
Present.
Alderwoman Tyus,
She's going to join us a little bit late.
Alderwoman Spencer, Alderwoman Boyd,
Present.
Alderman Bosley,
Present.
Alderman Odenberg,
Present.
Alderman Narayan,
Here.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Here.
Alderman Page,
Present.
Chair Vaccaro,
Present.
Alderwoman Tyus,
She'll be joining us a little late.
Alderwoman Spencer. We have 9 present. You have a quorum.
Okay, before we get started, I do want to take a moment to recognize and maybe take a moment of silence for not just only the victims, the 2 victims that died in the school, which in all the kids that are basically, traumatized over this, but even over the weekend, we had multiple murders in the city of St. Louis. I believe it was 5 or 8 or more just over the weekend, the murders. And the people in those neighborhoods where all these murders are taking place, these kids are traumatized. And when you have, a kid that says he has no friends, no one loves him, he has no family, and chooses to take away that from other people, that in itself is sad. So I just want to take a brief moment of silence for them. And at the same time, I want to thank, our police department, our firefighters, our ambulance people. It was phenomenal that 8 minutes from the call to the time they were able to get this under control. So if we can just take just a quick moment of silence, I would appreciate that. Thank you. What we need now is then we want to do the approval of the minutes from the October 19th meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved. I move to approve the minutes from the October 19th meeting.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley,
Aye.
Alderman Odenberg.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Page,
Aye.
Chair Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. I have 10 aye votes.
Okay. So we're gonna, I want to welcome the presiding judge, Judge Stelzer, to our hearing today. He wants to talk about capital needs and needs that are in the court. We will go down through the committee. I would ask that we try to stay as germane as we can. I know the temptation to ask about court cases or how things are moving along. I'm sure he can answer some general questions, but let's try to stay as germane as we can. Judge Stelzer, if you would kind of give us an overview of what you're looking for and introduce your staff. I need to swear you in first.
Okay, sure.
Swear your staff, if they can raise their hand, the guys behind you also. You all promise to tell the truth, and that's really about it. You're not going to lie, are you? You promise to tell the truth.
We're not. We will tell you the truth.
Thank you. Thank you. So, okay, cool. Your Honor, you're up.
Thank you very much, Alderman Vaccaro. So I just want to start off by saying thank you to the chair, Mr. Vaccaro, and to all the members of the committee for giving us a few minutes of your time. I'm sure you guys have a lot going on. You're very busy. I'm well aware of that. Some of you I have already tried to reach out to ahead of time, and so I appreciate any time you were able to give me. But I didn't want to pass on this opportunity to meet with the committee at the Board of Aldermen. So I was very thankful that the chair graciously asked if I would attend this meeting. So what I'll start off by saying is that, just like all the other parts of city government that come to you for your needs, that's part of city government is that you fund the court system, the 22nd Judicial Circuit. We have 3 very large buildings, 2 downtown and 1 out at Juvenile. So we do have capital needs from time to time, and we kind of find ourselves in that situation right now. So what I have done, and I've given this information to the chairman, we have sort of a short list, which is what I want to discuss today. We've met with people at BPS and the budget people in City Hall about sort of our long-term list, and that's not what I'm here to talk about today. That's a much longer and a much bigger number. And I will also say that, we have been given, capital funds in the past, and we appreciate that. We've been able to get a lot of projects completed. But again, with older buildings, we do have a lot going on. So what I'm here to talk today about is a couple of very specific items. One is sort of 2 items combined: the designing and implementation of a new fire alarm replacement system. So the design of that is going to be about $125,000. The actual replacement of the system we estimate is going to be about $2.2 million. And I'll let some of my expert staff maybe talk about it for a minute also. But this is probably our most pressing need at this point, or one of our most pressing needs. We have a very antiquated system. We have very large public buildings. One of our buildings that we're sort of in charge of is the Carnahan Courthouse, which also has city offices in it, including the personnel department and other city offices. So we have a lot of jurors, witnesses, litigants, lawyers that are in and out of the building on a daily basis. So obviously we want to make certain that the fire alarm and fire replacement system is working well. We're spending quite a bit of money to repair the one we have, and it is very much past its useful life at this point. So that's sort of the first item. And I don't know if Louis or Nathan want to add anything to that.
Judge, I'll just add that a couple years back now, we engaged the city about these needs for the civil courts building. We needed to do a design for the actual RFP that would go out. The court put in its budget $75,000 to accomplish that task, and that has been accomplished. And so we have already invested about $73,000 in that design component. So we have a design. BPS has done their workup. Their estimate is that the project will cost $1.9 million to replace. So just a little south of the 2.2, but of course, usually there's a contingency attached to that. So the 2.2 stands really as our anticipated need for this project. So that is for the civil courts building, and that's really the first item. The $125,000 that Judge mentioned is to then replicate the same process for the Carnahan Courthouse. So the $125,000 is to again go back and create a design that will be used for the RFP for the Carnahan building. So we're sort of taking these one at a time, civil first, and then Carnahan, but we want to secure the money so that we can move forward with both of these. Both systems are more than 25 years old. Both systems are out of their life expectancy. And again, Judge mentioned the needs and the in and outs of the members of the public who come to these buildings regularly. And so that's why we think this is important for us to move forward with replacement of these 2 fire alarm systems in both buildings.
Louis, did you have anything you needed to add? Okay, all right. And then then the next item is replacing the supply and waste piping at the Carnahan Courthouse. We estimate that at $1.5 million. We have a lot of water leaks in that building, and so it's just sort of a constant need to be working on these. We have Another item, exterior stone stabilization for, I think that's for the civil courts building, the taller one that's catty corner from City Hall. That's estimated at 700,000. Two of the items that we've actually submitted here, I believe we do have money appropriated for those. That is the plumbing upgrades at Juvenile and the air handlers. Is that correct?
That's correct. Judge.
And I know that we had talked to Alderman Spencer about the air handlers, and she also had some ideas on this as well. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think it totals about $4.5 million. We do have some money that the city has committed for some other projects, and then just sort of some general money. So we're looking at maybe somewhere about $4 to $4.5 million that we are looking for. And I guess sort of the point of this meeting is just to give you guys an idea of what we think our number is. And we're hopeful if there's a capital bill that's being put together at the Board of Aldermen, that these are projects that you guys would hopefully consider putting in that bill. And I think this is probably a couple years worth of work. I mean, we can only have so many projects going on at once in these buildings. So I don't know if Lewis or Nathan have anything else to add to some of these projects. But again, this is sort of a short list that's taken from our bigger long-term list that we've been working with BPS on. So that's kind of my pitch to you guys. So obviously we are here to answer any questions that you guys may have for us about this.
Dr. Isom, are you here somewhere? I guess he is. Okay, Dr. Isom. So a couple of quick questions. Has the capital committee been talking about some of these things? Are some of these things already on there, or do we need to?
I believe that they have definitely been talking about it, and they have like I say, a much more detailed list that all of these projects are included on. So they are aware of what we're asking, but we just felt like we should maybe reach out a little bit more to the Board of Aldermen, since you guys, we hope, are putting together a bill that may include some capital items.
No, I understand. So Dr. Isom, what going through my mind, do we need to put a board bill together? And rather than 2.2 million, just upgrading the fire, that has to be public safety. Wouldn't we want to do the whole 5 million to do both at the same time, or appropriate? And can we use the COVID money for doing this? And would it be helpful to do a board bill to require this? That's asking you, Dr. Isom.
That's me.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I wouldn't be opposed to it if the judge needs the funding. I'm certainly not opposed to it.
So what we should do, and then I'll go through the committee, and there's probably smarter people on here than me. Maybe we do need to introduce a board bill, especially trying to use some of that COVID money if possible to do these, rather than do 2.2 million and then 2.2 million, down the road. Them funds are limited as to how fast and how soon they have to be spent. So we can't really, I say, why risk it if we can do it all and get it into the budget now, as long as it's spent over the proper time period. So, I mean, that's just my thoughts. I think we should do that. And I think we need to put that into Alderwoman Boyd's committee, which is the Ways and Means Committee. Dr. Isom, jump in. Were you even saying something, or? Okay, I'm sorry. So what I think I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go down the list. Judge, my proposal is that we do a board bill, put it in Ways and Means, and try to get this, all these needs. I don't know if the water would fall under the COVID funds, but I certainly think the alarm system, and I think we should do the total of 5 million rather than part and part, because we may not have the opportunity to have that money, in the future. Let me run down the list here. So Alderwoman Davis, you're first up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee, to Your Honor and all those who are contributing to this topic. We do have a process in place that is moving at this moment as we speak in order to deal with capital expenditures for the city of St. Louis. Our budget director, Paul Payne, leads that process. It is twofold. One is bringing in general public. So there's a committee where members from the public will review and or get understanding on some of the anticipated needs. And then we also listen to them to see what they have in mind as well. And the other part of that is we have a capital expenditure committee, which has met all of us who are chairpersons of like Ways and Means and HUDs and a few others. We sit on that committee and we listen to the overall input from the Board of Public Service, and the members of the executive chambers from the mayor's office, and all of those expectations, facility manager, are on this capital request, and is analyzed and determined based on all the funds that are available from the various pots of money for the city of St. Louis. As we all know, we have some additional pots of money that will be coming down later this year or right after the first of the year. So we do have the ability to look at how we can fund these projects. And we will make sure that we put these things in the appropriate priority. So I'm hoping that we will wait for these processes to take place. There is no need for our committee to get involved trying to write a board bill without all the appropriate information and or understanding of how the process takes place. I do know that I had heard these expenditures previously, and they're definitely on my mind to support. Judge, I'd like to just say thank you, because it's rare that we see you guys on this side. And so
We are the silent branch. That's what we're called.
That's right. That's right. And I do appreciate that. And I hope to hear from you, even if it's only in writing, in supporting your sheriff's department. They have a lot of needs.
I have actually sent an email to the Public Safety Committee chairman that we do support the capital needs, because they definitely need to get some of their equipment upgraded. There's no question about that. So yes, I have done that already. And I appreciate everybody's time here today. And I'm not really, I just want to be clear, I'm not necessarily looking for a separate board bill for us, and I'm not looking for that. I know there's a process, we're engaged in that process, but I felt like this was too good of an opportunity to pass up to get, some FaceTime with some of the aldermen and women on this committee and discuss these topics. So that's really my goal here.
I totally agree with you.
Thank you.
Totally.
So, and I did receive that, and we did speak, and other than the body cameras, the judges are in favor of that. They have concerns about body cameras in the court for the sheriffs. And just briefly, when I heard about the fire alarm and it being antiquated, and I know there's a process, and a very long, slow process, but
It's not long. It'll be done in the next 45 days.
Okay. But if 45 days from now, we're still sitting on this, we need to act, because we've been made aware of this. And if that building catches on fire and people die, we've been made aware of this. And we certainly want to make sure we're moving in the interest of the people. And so I am glad to hear that 45 days from now, a lot of this is going to be addressed. I'm sorry, was there anything else, Alderwoman Davis?
No, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Howard.
No, I can support this. It just seems as though the courts are, like you said, the silent members of the branch of the government. But I appreciate you coming before us, Judge Seltzer, and
My pleasure.
making us aware of this, because when we get that, sometimes it stacks so full that, it's overwhelming. So thank you for putting this before us and making us aware of it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Alderwoman Howard, thank you.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Judge Seltzer, for being here today, for spending quite a bit of time with me, walking through some of these capital needs. I offered to, and I'm glad you brought that conversation up, because what I'd like to do is just quickly mention the financing option that I kind of thought would be a good opportunity for our court system to take advantage of to finance at least the air handler portion of those capital needs, which is really, really significant. The state of Missouri, under the Department of Natural Resources, has a grant and loan program that the city has used previously to finance upgrades that result in energy efficiency for public buildings. It's a really smart program that has a very, very low interest rate, guaranteed financing, and has a return that really comes out of the energy savings. When the city used this program just a couple of years ago on City Hall and a couple of other buildings, I believe it was a $1.5 or $6 million project that returned about $470,000 worth of energy savings on an annual basis, which means that we were able to pay that loan back in just 3 years. So I suggest strongly that we consider doing that, using that program here for this. It's a program specifically for schools, universities, and local governments. So it would be no money up front really from the city. We have experience utilizing it, and we could get moving on it tomorrow. I've mentioned this to the mayor's office, and I believe they're supportive of the concept. So I think having some face time here will hopefully get that ball rolling, and one that I think would be a win-win for everybody involved.
Yeah, we're fine with that. I mean, you guys have some ideas on this that we probably would not come up with. So absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, if it would be helpful, we could certainly write a resolution just for that piece. We could put that together. I think that would make a lot of sense, and we could champion here not only the work that our court system does and how we serve really some of the folks that really are some of the more vulnerable folks within our community, and really deserve, I think, a space that is comfortable to be in. But really the folks that work there as well. Justice is a big part of the system, and making the system work for everyone. And you all play just an incredibly vital role there. And it's important that we make the facility in which you're able to do that one that is safe, has quality air, and has the upgrades you need. So I'd be happy to put that resolution together. Again, this is not something that would be new to the mayor's office. We've talked with them. I do believe that there's some support there, and I think we could get this kind of moving now that we've got some public attention on it pretty quickly here.
If you need anything from us, please let us know.
Thank you. I think that the estimation on the cost, any additional information on that would be helpful. Of course, we'll have to go through a process, but
thank you very much, Alderwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman Pam Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And first, let me thank Alderwoman Davis for so eloquently putting that information out for the committee as a whole. We do have a process. I've been in communication with the comptroller and with Paul Payne in regards to the capital budget and the requests that have been made. We have been sitting at the meetings and listening to the concerns and the requests from each department. So thank you, Judge Seltzer. And it's funny because I always say you never see you all until we come before you. So I'm glad we're seeing you, and I'm not in trouble. So that's a good thing.
For you. So kind of in reverse.
And then the other piece with we are looking at the sheriff's office and the courts. So you are not forgotten, and we are not ignoring it. We're just waiting on the process so we can ensure that we accommodate people with their needs.
Absolutely. And like I say, I just thought this was too good of an opportunity to pass up for me to come before some of the aldermen. So thank you, Ms. Boyd.
Oh, you are very welcome, sir. Thank you. That's all I have. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Bosley, are you with us? Sometimes he has camera trouble. I'll move on and come back if you pop in there. Because he was there for roll call. Alderman Oldenburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing really more to add than what my colleague said, except to say that I know that these needs are real. They have been presented to the Capital Committee, which I am a member as well. And I know the second citizen advisory meeting for input on capital improvements and ARPA dollars is this evening. And I think there's a couple more of those. So the process is going to play out. I would also know that the judge and the facilities folks there welcome a tour. They will show you how old and stale some of these upgrades are and are sorely needed. So hopefully this can be part of that package that comes forward here in the next 30 or 45 days. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Oldenburg.
Alderman Narayan. Brett, you're up. Alderman Brett Narayan.
Thank you, Chairman Vaccaro, and thank you, Judge Stelzer, for appearing before us today. Just want to echo the comments of my colleague from the 19th and the 16th. I think that it sounds like we're on the path to get this issue solved in the next 45 or so days, and it certainly is important. I spend sometimes more time than I would care to over in the courtroom there, and so I certainly appreciate the fact that if the fire alarms aren't working, we need them to, particularly in a building with that many stories. So thank you for your time today, bringing this to the committee, and I'll certainly do anything that I can in my power to help push this through. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Was that? I guess that was all then. Let's see. Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman.
Thank you. And
Can I ask one more question, Alderman Vaccaro? I just thought about something.
No, go. Sure. No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Judge Stelzer, did I hear correctly? Because I thought I heard it, but I was like, let me double check. I'm sorry, this is Alderwoman Boyd, that the fire alarms do not work.
No, they still work, but they're getting very expensive to upkeep, and they've outlived their lifespan. So it's just a question of when they sort of break down completely. So we are spending an inordinate amount of money to keep this system working way past its shelf life. But no, they are working.
Okay. That's why I had gotten nervous. And so
No, they are working, yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
That would be scary,
Yes.
Alderman Page.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I've listened very carefully to each of these projects that Judge Stelzer has described, and each of them sounds like righteous problems or projects in need of remedies. And I will defer to the comments of my colleagues who spoke earlier for the appropriate processes to get her done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So you're quoting Larry the Cable Guy.
Well, I wasn't gonna, in case that is copyrighted
I don't think it's copyrighted.
intellectual property, I wasn't gonna call him out like that, but yes, I did quote him.
I think that's a good quote. Get her done. So let me see if Alderman Bosley, were you able to get your camera back working again? And well, cool. So if no one else, what about anyone off the committee? If you want to turn your camera on and raise your hand, you want to be recognized. I don't see anyone, so
okay.
So Judge, I'm really glad you came in. It seems to me that the fire alarm, the air handlers, these are things that are important, and I'm anxious to hear what pops up in 45 days, because in 50 days, if it's not there, I think we'll actually come back to this committee again and say, you know, what's going on, because again, I have, you know, air handlers with COVID and all that, you know, we want to see cases moving through the courts. We don't, you know, and all these things are important. Fire alarms are important. So anyway, Judge, if you have anything you want to end with, and then we're going to let you guys go to work.
No, I appreciate, again, thanks to everybody for your time. I know you have other issues to deal with, but again, we know there's a process. We're engaged in the process, but this was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. So I appreciate everybody's time. And Alderwoman Spencer, if she's still here, we will get a hold of you with any other information you think you'll need, okay?
She's here and she has her hand up. Alderwoman Spencer.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Judge. I just want to reiterate, I mean, I agree with all of my colleagues here who mentioned, you know, the process for the capital improvements. The proposal that I'm seeking for the financing of the air handlers would be outside of that, because it really would cost no money out of the city's budget. It would be financed from the energy savings. And so we could potentially handle that piece a little bit differently and get them moving on a piece that would not only improve the air quality, which we know is vitally important right now, but would really put them in a better position to heat and cool those buildings in a way that would make it significantly less uncomfortable for those who are in it on a regular basis or any basis whatsoever. So my suggestion would be we could handle that one a little separately and outside of the budget process, because it would be no money up front out of the budget, city's budget.
So
and it would reduce the overall capital needs that we would have to handle out of our budget.
So Alderwoman Spencer, is this something that you would put together and bring to
Yes.
the means? And maybe
well, actually, it wouldn't have to, Mr. Chair, wouldn't have to go through Ways and Means. This is something that but do believe that the Board of Public Service, together with the mayor's office, could apply for through the Department of Natural Resources outside of us. We could put together a resolution that would make that recommendation, that because this would happen outside of the budget process, that would also commemorate and kind of acknowledge the energy savings and the good work that's going on, the state, the administration, and those involved in making that move forward. But it could and should happen outside of the traditional budget processes, because it goes directly to the state of Missouri. There's no money up front from the city.
So what you're proposing is that a resolution, would that be something you would put together and then present and then hopefully move forward fairly quickly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for clarifying. I'd be happy to put together that resolution that would do that and have further conversations with the mayor's office to make sure we can move forward with that separately.
Thank you.
I think it would.
I appreciate that. You know, that's why, you know, I asked the judge to come, because I mean, there's much, you know, he talked to me, and I'm probably one of the dumbest guys on the board when it comes to this stuff, and I'll admit that. So there's much smarter people out here on the board on these kind of issues. And I thought, let's get it together as a group, and, you know, and so this is a good suggestion that's coming out of this. And it seems to me, Your Honor, that you have the support of at least this committee, and I probably believe most of the whole Board of Aldermen. You know, so anyway, so seeing no other hands up, Your Honor, thank you so much, and your staff.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the time. I think this has been very beneficial, and don't hesitate to contact me if you have any other questions that come up. Thank you very much.
Okay, God bless. Thank you.
Take care. Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on to the firefighters. Dr. Isom, are you here somewhere? I would, Dr. Isom. So, Dr. Isom, I probably, as well as a lot of other members of the committee, have gotten phone calls, emails, the concerns about the promotion list, over 17 people, 17 positions, and the belief that this is endangering firefighters. So what I think we're going to do is, I think I'm going to go ahead, even though he spoke last week, I'm going to open it with Demetrius, who's the head of Local 73. We have a whole group of other firefighters, but I think kind of go that route. And for the firefighters that are on with us, not only a great job for the medics that ran into the building the other day, but while I was sleeping last night, you guys were putting out a big 5-story building that was collapsing all over the place, 100 firefighters. Buildings around didn't catch on fire, at least that I know of. So kudos to you guys for that. You know, and so what I would like to do is I'm going to start with Demetrius, and if you could just give us a brief, you know, because you talked last week, and then I'm going to, Dr. Isom, I'm going to kind of leave you with just an open mic at whatever point you want to comment, and then we'll go down the list. And we have a fair amount of guest speakers, but we're going to have one person speaking for the whole group, which is Robert Evelyn, if I'm pronouncing that right. Evelyn, I'm sorry, Robert Evelyn. And we have Dan Clark too from the firefighters, and Mr. Evelyn's got a whole group behind him, so and he's going to speak for that group. And that, thank you for doing that rather than have one by one by one. So Demetrius, please explain, you know, why, you know, what you're asking and what's going on, and I'm just going to mute myself and listen, and we'll go down the list also.
Thank you, Chairman.
I apologize. Can I get everybody that's going to speak to raise their hand?
Oh, sure thing.
I keep forgetting this. Do you all promise to tell the truth? Do you swear or affirm you're going to tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Okay, Demetrius, you're up.
Thank you, Chairman Vaccaro, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you guys again. I consider a lot of you guys working colleagues and friends, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be heard. Let me also say that it's been a tough week. You're absolutely right, Mr. Chairman. It's been a real tough week with the shooting that happened over at the SLPS school. And we did have a 5-alarm fire last night that took a number of members to put it out. And not to be repeat myself, but we also had a 2nd-alarm fire downtown again this morning. So yeah, we've been humping and bumping. And let me just say that it's been a tough week, but thanks to all the members of SLPS security staff, the administration, police department, EMS, fire, dispatch, everyone that was involved, FBI, we all came together and worked and came with a decent outcome. We rather what didn't happen, but we did come together, and like you said, in 8 minutes, some things got mitigated. So we appreciate that as well. And I'd like to say thank you as the president of Local 73, because I'm not always out there. I was out there this morning, I was out there last night, but I wasn't out there the day of the shooting. But we're all working as a team, and we appreciate that. So that being said, let me just say the reason why I'm here is to talk about the promotions in St. Louis Fire Department that haven't happened. We have approximately 17 openings. I believe it's 14 captain positions, and I think by Friday it'll be 3 battalion chief positions that haven't been promoted. We're not sure why. We know that those the budget, the funds for those promotions have been approved and are available, ready to go. We know that everyone that's on that list has been vetted and passed the test, certified, and they are good to go. We do know that it has gotten to a critical stage. I mean, we've been working our butts off this week. And according to NFPA 1710, we should have a supervisor on each apparatus, supervising 4 to 6 guys, and they are working 24 hours. They're working supervisors. They work on the apparatus. They work EMS calls. Those are captain positions, and the battalion chiefs are also 24-hour shifts. That they're working around the clock. They're not sitting behind a desk. They're running 12 to 20 calls per night, each one of them. And they supervise about 6 companies in each district. So with that being said, according to 1710, those are the standards. That's what St. Louis Fire Department normally is upheld to. And currently we have 17 positions that are open, vacant, and we have people in those positions right now, the title not being properly funded or not being paid to do the job. And that's why, as a union president, we're here asking, why haven't those positions been filled? And we'd like to see them filled.
Dr. Isom, is there a reason that there's been this delay? I know you've had changes and stuff, but I mean, is there any reason we can't move forward with these? Like,
Yeah, so Chairman Vaccaro and committee. So what I'll go back to is the 2014 report of fire and emergency medical services operations and data analysis that was done in September of 2014. This was done by ICMA, their Center for Public Safety Management. It's their International County and City Management Association. And I'll read from the executive summary and then I'll expand on that. So critical areas the ICMA team has identified that need improvement and that resulted in our recommendations are: the delivery of emergency medical services is lacking the system efficiencies, adequate resources, leadership and management, and deployment strategies required for a high-performing modern EMS system in an urban environment. That was in 2014, and I will expand on that. I think that still exists today. Second, there is excess capacity in firefighting resources. Excess capacity in firefighting resources. An assessment based on best practices and the risk presented in this community. The third item, there is excess capacity in firefighting resources associated with the airport program. And then the final item in that bullet point in this assessment was the Emergency Communications Center are redundant, inefficient, lack many elements required for automated processes and data-based performance measures and management. That was done in 2014. Much of what I've been trying to do since I arrived here is to address many of those issues, both within EMS and fire. As we know, the status quo in terms of our EMS operations and our paramedic operations have been deficient for many years. And as this report cites, it dates back to 2014. The report also states that we have an excess of firefighting resources. And that doesn't mean the fire department is not doing a great job, as Mr. Alford has suggested. It means that we have some structural problems with the status quo that has existed with the structure of fire and EMS for many years. So my process has been to try to work with the police department or the fire department to think about, especially in our next budget year, how we can make operational changes and budgetary changes that would be more in line with the needs that we have today. Our needs are more on the EMS, paramedic, EMT side in terms of resources than they're on the fire side. Again, that doesn't mean that the fire department is not doing a great job. What it means is that we are over leveraged in terms of our resources on the fire side. And there needs to be adjustments to bring those resources in line on the paramedic EMS side. And so in addition to that, as Mr. Alford said, he indicated there needs to be a 1-to-4 or 1-to-6 ratio. Right now, as it currently exists, we have a 1-to-4 ratio in terms of captains to privates, meaning that we have over 400 privates and over 100 captains. That means that there is basically a 1-to-4 management alignment. which anybody in management knows that 1 to 4 is a pretty low ratio. So my goal has been, and especially moving into the next budget year, is to look at how we can put more resources into EMT, paramedics, and adjust our resources on the fire side. So that's been my position long ago. In addition to that, we have a promotional exam that is over 9 years old. And it's my opinion that we need a new exam because much of what was tested years ago is really an old test, and we should be have a new test based on what the charter says to get a new list of potential candidates. So it's really twofold, in my opinion.
So, Demetrius, do you want to comment on this? So I want to go back and forth so that we all have a better understanding, because I mean, I will say, for whatever, my son is a firefighter. He's in the county, it pays better, but he's also a captain. So, you know, I also know that, you know, there's a need, and just to have someone, what they call riding the seat, or the acting captain, isn't the appropriate way. And I know they do things different there, but I do believe even there, they pay you if you're riding the seat and you're doing that for more than 30 days, then you're now actually, you know, you can't just be forever acting. And I could be way off on what I'm saying. So Demetrius, right on, and I'm going to get to all the other speakers. I just want to, so that we have a clear back and forth understanding of what's going on, and then we'll go through the list of all the people and speakers.
Sure thing, Joe. And I don't want to get into an argument, but the way Dr. Isom started out quoting ICM, first of all, that is a very old study, and I don't have it in front of me. I don't have it in front of me, but I do remember on some of the things that he said, especially with EMS, and I think the blanket statement that was made, you know, doesn't hit on what really causes the problem. Like we are grossly understaffed in EMS, paramedics and EMTs, and the hiring practices of the city. Once they hire, if they hire 11 people, the following week maybe 6 people have left the county due to low pay, you know, things like that. So it's a 60% turnover rate in EMS. And so that, I think that was mentioned in the study. I think on the fire side, I'm not quite sure how Dr. Isom put it, but the statement that was made really suggests that, and I remember reading the report, that ICM was saying that some of the firehouses could be relocated for the population of the city of St. Louis. And once we read that, you know, when you're talking about moving a firehouse or rebuilding a firehouse, things like that, you're talking about, you know, a considerable amount of money. I don't think it mentioned the manpower being overstaffed. But like I said, I don't have it in front of me. But I will say this, that even when you're trying to restructure, not promoting people in place compared to 1710, you know, you don't eliminate something without having a plan. And right now, it seems that not promoting, even on the testing front, we know that they're starting to put a test in place. It takes a couple of years to put a test in place. If right now we haven't promoted, and I want to say within the last 4 months, we have 17 vacancies. If you wait until a test is put in place, you could possibly have 50, 30, 50 vacancies. That's going to be past critical with the St. Louis Fire Department. So I can appreciate a study being done or a plan trying to be hashed out. And we would like to work within those confines, you know, so the right input or everybody's input could be put in place.
Yeah, well, let me address that, because certainly I've asked the fire chief to make whatever adjustments he needs to make to properly run the organization. You know, there are adjustments that can be made in the interim. But I would also say that, you know, I know change is difficult, and it's much easier just to continue with the status quo. That usually is the path of least resistance. But I do think what my goal is to improve public safety. And as this report indicated, we need to figure out ways to shift more resources to the EMS paramedic side, which is the overwhelming and majority of calls that we're receiving, not only from the EMS side, but from the fire side. The majority of the calls that fire is receiving are medical emergency calls. So this is my intent in trying to do this. I would also say that, of course, there has been a reluctance on the fire side to embrace these type of structural changes that can improve services. Just to show you that this is not something unique to the fire department. The police department has 3 lieutenant colonel openings. The major rank has 1 opening. The captain rank has 6 openings. So they have embraced the fact that we have restructured the police department in a way that we don't need as much upper command in the police department. And they have made the adjustments, and we worked through these changes where we are not over leveraged with upper command. So I just tell the committee that this is not unique to the fire department. We are working through what is the best management structure in the police department as well.
And let me say this, Dr. Iceman, I don't want to be rude. I don't mean to be rude, but let me say this. Police department and fire department are 2 different entities. Those positions that you just mentioned on the police department are to my understanding, or white shirts that will work in the office and possibly could be maybe wait on or whatever. The positions that I'm talking about are not equivalent to those. These are working.
I would interrupt you.
Out in the street.
Captains are not in the office all the time. Our Captain Mueller was at the scene, in the building, at Visual Performing Arts, actively inside the scene. So
I understand, but
I do realize they're a little bit different, but the point is that we're trying to work through the best structure of the police department in terms of management. And the police department has embraced trying to make those organizational changes in the best interest of trying to serve the community.
I understand, sir, but those it's not equivalent in the fire department. Captains work on the apparatus, run to every run. Battalion chiefs running 12 to 20 runs per day. They have to be on the scene in order to be in that supervisory position for the span of control, as you mentioned before. So it is a lot different. The fire department, and I don't confess to know what the police department do. I work with them. We work with them very well. And like I said, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm not sure that same format from a police perspective can be used on the fire department. That's why I mentioned NFPA 1710. Yeah. It's written. It's the way we do business. It's the safest way to do business to save lives, not only for the citizens of St. Louis, but to make sure that the firefighters' lives are protected as well.
Right.
So, and I know Dan Clark has his hand up. If anybody could tell me, I think I know, isn't it insurance, ICM? What it exactly that stands? What does it stand for? Al or Dr. Isom, someone, ICM?
We're looking it up right now. It's a company, a consultant company that goes around the country that does certain things. And really, Chairman Vaccaro, if I may say, there's a number of companies out there that do the same thing, and they all come up with things that are different. I'm not going to expound on that, but what I will say is that we saw some things in the report, and I don't have it in front of me, that was eye-opening, and then we saw some things that we just totally don't agree with. So we don't think that perspective should be the way to go.
I just didn't know what that stood for. I know there's some.
Mr. Chair, it stands for International City County Management Association.
Okay, I had no clue, and a lot of times when we're doing this, maybe, again, I don't profess to know a lot. So anyway, Dan, your hand's up. You're welcome to speak. And then we're going to go to the other group, the group that Mr. Evelyn has. Evelyn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to everybody in the committee. Yeah, to just address some of the stuff on the ICMA report and the stuff that Director Isom has spoke on, you know, he's citing a report that's actually was done before the testing process that he's saying is too old. We're talking about, you know, if the firefighting testing that we were doing 9 years ago, you know, isn't going to hold up now, why are we looking at a report that's that old? It doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does say we can cut numbers of firefighters, but it does that strategically if we build new firehouses more in better spots around the city. The way that our firehouses are set up right now, that's how we get our 4-minute response time. That's what everybody's looking for around the country, that 4-minute response time. When you call 911, you want us there in 4 minutes. So to do that, I would say, yes, we could restructure this. We're going to need some money to build firehouses. They're going to have to be put, you know, quite a few around different spots of the city. So we're looking at a lot of money to do that. We're also looking at a lot of time. Going through on, you know, nobody's really talked about, we did have that test. We have a list of current members. Those members are getting ready to speak after me. We'd like to really put a face to the name of these people that are being held up. But we look at, you know, these members took a test, as did I. They scored pretty okay on that test. They're on that list right now, and they've been basically deemed good enough to ride in those positions, assigned in those positions as officers every day, take on full responsibilities. Life we're talking about here, right? We're firefighters. We know what happened in January of this year. We lost a brother. We're not talking about, you know, anything we're going to take lightly. We're talking about people's lives they're putting in their hands. They're taking those responsibilities. They're allowed to take those, and they're not being promoted. So our issue with that, they're good enough to ride those positions every day, write out a title and be assigned to them, but yet they're not good enough to be promoted. That's pretty hard on people. You know, it's hard on employees. We look at, you know, if this restructure needed to happen, Director Isom, why didn't we do that when we budgeted for these positions? You know, the budget went through the Board of Aldermen, as Al said, went through the Board of Aldermen, it got approved. Basically for the city, you know, the citizens approved through the aldermen for us to fill these positions. They can be paid for. Why aren't we doing it? You know, I had a bunch I wanted to talk on it. I think it's more important to allow the members that are being affected to speak. They'll at least let you see their faces and know their names. So, Mr. Chair, thank you for your time.
And I guess, Dr. Isom, did you want to reply to any of that? I mean, we did budget that, and it is in the budget. And, you know, so I don't know if you want to, I mean, do you want to reply to that, or we could move on to the next group?
Yeah, I would just move on to the next group.
Okay. Mr. Evelyn, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong.
Okay, a lot of people get it wrong. Evelyn.
I used to know about Evelyn that worked for Copying Concepts, Datamax company.
Probably
a relation. But anyway, so you have some folks behind you?
I have 12 additional people behind me. 4 are at work, so these are basically the group that's affected. So, Chairman Vaccaro and the committee, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to talk today. As you know, promotions on the St. Louis Fire Department have been stopped by the Director of Public Safety, Dan Isom. We've heard a lot of reasons being given. They range from the list is too old to the fire department is too top heavy in supervisory positions and needs to be evaluated. And now this ICM study is new to me. It's another new excuse. And by my math, this ICM study, and according to Dan Clark's, is just as old, if not older, than the test. Now, despite all the excuses that we have heard, the following facts are indisputable. 1, promotional exams for captain and battalion chief were administered in 2013. A certified list of candidates were produced and approved by the Department of Personnel. 2, the results were disputed in federal court and an agreement was reached in which one of the decrees was that the city would continue to promote from the current list until such time as a new test was given and a new list produced. 3, promotions were being made on a regular basis up until January of 2022. On February of 2022, the promotions were abruptly halted by order of Dan Isom. Now, none of the men and women affected by this decision are doctors, but we all have IQs above 100. We know political interference when we see it. As you may or may not know, 15 of these men and women have filed suit against the city of seeking relief. As a proud resident of St. Louis and who has served the citizens of this great city for 34 years, I think I can speak for all of us and say this was a decision that we did not take lightly. If we win the court case, the monetary damages could be substantial. And really, all of any of us want is to be promoted to the positions that we have earned. We would all like the same opportunity that Dr. Isom was afforded when he received all of his promotions as a member of the police department. I think if Dr. Isom would think in those terms, he might have more empathy for the men and women affected by his decisions. As a final note, out of the 700 plus suppression members of the St. Louis Fire Department, there is incredibly only one female supervisor at this time. The city can triple this number just by approving these promotions. Thank you for your time.
So there's, so this would add 3 female to the rank of captain or battalion chief, or what would they become?
2 to the rank of captain. 2 more to the rank of captain.
2 more, but 3 total, would it add 3 more? women?
That would bring it to 3 total, yes.
And then what about other minority groups?
This would bring 3 more African-American males, 4 more African-American males, I'm sorry. Both females are African-American, so it's a very diverse group in age, ethnicity, nationality, gender.
Okay, cool. No, I get that. So Dr. Isom, I mean, I support the fire, and I mean, I think I understand this.
Well, I will respond since Dan made a couple of comments which I do think are not factual. First, this 2013 agreement, it did say the test would be used until a new test was done. But the understanding that a new test should have been done in 2018. And so the agreement also actually said that there should have been a new test already. So that fact is not clear. He said that is a fact, but it's not a fact. The fact is the agreement suggested, because of minority participation, that there should have been a test a long time ago. That's what the agreement said. So that is not a fact. The second thing, which I don't want to make it about myself, but this is also not fair to other people in the police department or fire department who haven't been able to take a test in 9 years, almost 10 years. And so if you're talking about me as my career, I do respect the fact that they took the test, but certainly I would not have been promoted to chief if the test was 10 years old. There are some people who have been on the fire department almost 15 years and have never been able to take the test. So that is also unfair to the rest of the people who have been on the police department or fire department for many years, who have had no opportunity for upward movement. It is the reason why most organizations will have a test 1 to 2 or 3 years, so that people have an opportunity to be promoted. So I'll just throw that out there. And then the other thing, I don't believe what I'm suggesting in both of these, all three of these categories is excuses. It's really about what I think is best for the city of St. Louis and is best for the fire department. So I would just point out those three things that he has mentioned in terms of reasons. Also, the report is part of the reason why I think we need a new operational change in the fire department. It's not separate from that. It's just evidence of that.
I don't think anybody, I would hope, I would say nobody's thinking that you're purposely trying to sabotage or do anything, that would be inappropriate. I mean, and I'm not even suggesting that. My thing, so of course, the firefighters, it seems logical to me that we would, it was in the budget, we do this at the Board of Aldermen, to me, it would be logic. It just seems logical that we would promote these folks, move past it, not be tying up money in court, and at the same time, putting a test together so we can move forward. Because I agree with the statement you said about the people that haven't had the opportunity. I also think that you have people that have been on a long time, and my heart for the firefighters is there because they actually saved my heart. They came to my house when I was having a heart attack, and I'm like, I'm not having a heart attack. I don't need to go to the hospital. And they're like, Joe, shut up. They stuck a mask on me. He said, you're going to the hospital. I said, I don't need to go. I'm not having a heart attack. For better or for worse, I'm still alive because when I got to the hospital, they had to do pretty much emergency open heart surgery. Yes, I was having a heart attack, and they knew better than me. And if we don't pay our paramedics more, my son is one of those that started in the city for roughly, I guess he was there because they seemed desperate to hire paramedics even back 15, 18 years ago. So they hired my son as paramedic. He left the city making 42,000, went to Hazelwood making 60 something, over to Melville making whatever more. But if we don't pay the medics more, I mean, that is just, that's, and all that. But anyway, I'm just giving my own personal opinion. I think if it were me, and rather than go through all these court costs, I really think both sides are very right. I think you're right in saying that we need a new test because there's people that haven't had the chance to take a test. But I also think there's a test out there and people have been sitting on it, and they certainly have the right to say, gee, you know what? These are open positions. The Board of Aldermen has funded them. We should move on. And that's just my opinion. And that's all that is my opinion. What I think, Mr. Evelyn, Evelyn, what I'd like to do, I know you want to comment. If it's going to be brief, go ahead and comment. And I think I want to run down and get the other alder folks. I think the majority of us that I know of are certainly on the firefighter side of this, but and not, but it just seems logical. That's the only thing what I'm at. So, Mr. Evelyn, if you have if you can keep it brief, that would be wonderful.
I will. Thank you, Chairman. I agree. A test is overdue, and there's a lot of members out there that should have the opportunity to be promoted. But I'm going to respectfully disagree with Dr. Isom's interpretation of the court decree. The court decree clearly stated the city will promote off the current list until such time is a new test is given and a new list is certified. Another part of the decree was the city will make every effort to give a test by 2018. Well, we all know sometimes there's budgetary issues that delay these tests. It's been happening for 34 years since I've been on the job. And also something happened a few years back called the pandemic that closed everything down. This delayed it. These were out of our hands. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I would just add, there was money to do a test in 2018. The whole purpose of the test was the issue was to have a new test because fire had an agreement that there would be a new test. So we're almost 10 years later, and there hasn't been a test. And I would suggest that, respectfully, if that had happened, the people standing there would possibly be promoted had they tested well, but certainly other people would have had an opportunity to be promoted as well. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the personnel division did not provide a test in 2018, which is way before the pandemic. So I don't think the pandemic had anything to do with the personnel division not doing what they had agreed to do.
So if there's no other comments, if Al, if you want to comment, if not, we're going to start moving through the committee. I'm sure there's going to be other questions.
I'd like to move to the committee, Mr. Chairman, but I will say, just because the test wasn't given by the Department of Personnel in 2018, that doesn't negate the court decree. But that just means they didn't abide by it. And I guess fire could have gone back to court and made them put together a test. What we do know, a test wasn't given, and it should. So I think we're all pretty close to saying the same thing, that a test should be given, and these folks should be promoted as well.
That was my thought. Let me run down the list. I don't know if Alderwoman Tyus had a chance to join us yet. I know she said she would be a little bit late. So Alderwoman Davis, you're first up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My first statement is this is just a damn shame. And now I'll tell why I feel this way. I've been here the whole time throughout this process and even before the court decision. And we had already talked about looking at other ways for people to be compensated for their length of service. And it would not always be being promoted to a captain, because that's the only thing you can get first in order to get a significant raise. We had talked about looking at step compensation. We'd also been looking at other positions that should be warranted within the fire department that would allow people to get increased salaries. I don't know what happened to that other than when you talk to the personnel department, they would never follow through. And it's a shame that we allowed this to get this far. We're going to spend a whole lot more money with this court case than we would have ever spent with the promotions that could have been given. That is guaranteed. There's no ifs and buts about it. Aside from that, the morale of our employees, not just in the fire department, but everybody else will look at this and think about, well, will that happen to me in the department that I'm working in next? We have to remedy this. We must look at other departments around the country and find out some ways to make this a better system with more opportunities. There's nothing wrong with having more opportunities. Just because it's been done this way X number of years doesn't mean we can't come up with something better. And so I am hoping that as we move forward with this, we're not going to solve this except in the courts. So everybody needs to relax and wait for the court decision, because that's where you are right now. When you're in a court battle, you wait until it's over with. There is nothing that we can do to intercede there. But I am asking that Dr. Isom, whom I know, has the ability to garner good discussion with those in leadership roles, to find some new opportunities and restructure for the betterment of the future of this fire department, because it's one of the best in the country, and we want to keep the best. And we sit here and allow ourselves to get so far out of kilter. I see so many ambulance services that we are contracted with. That's ridiculous. They should be city employees. So we've got a lot of work to do. And I am more than willing at any point in time to work with you on this. It was a problem we had with the school board, and we had to restructure the opportunities for promotions there. They've been doing it one way, and now it's different. And I'm hoping that for the near future, they even increase it so that people can get periodic raises for different steps of improvement and also of service. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Howard.
I just hope that we can come to some settlement. And as Alderwoman Davis said, there needs to be some answers to this, and it's in litigation. I'm sorry to hear that we could not, but I mean, personnel needs to stand up and restructure, not only for the fire department, for all of our people. All of our people are, when we've got people going to food pantries that work for the city, we're in sad shape. It's just not right. And I understand, Mr. Evelyn, I appreciate your testimony today, and I appreciate those people behind you, their predicament. You know, you guys put your life on the line daily, and we need your services, and we need to respect that, and we need to show that respect by remunerating you for your service. Thank you so much, and hopefully we can get this resolved, and our personnel director will take this, and hopefully Director Isom will appeal to that personnel division and try to get something going while this litigation, you know, in anticipation that this gets settled. Thank you so much. And thank you, Al, for being here today. And I appreciate your organization and what you do. Thank you.
And I can tell you.
Thank you, Alderwoman.
I can tell you, you know, and the insurance company can tell you, the only people that come out well in a court case are the attorneys. Because, you know, you always want to get together and work through something. It just doesn't make sense. Alderwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, and thank you all for being here today. I just want to express my gratitude for the work the first responders have been doing this whole time, with or without your promotions, keeping us safe. This has been an exceptionally hard week for all of us. So my gratitude as a parent of a kid in a school for always being there, both our fire and our police departments in record time. So thank you so much for your service. I think it's been helpful to hear both sides here, all sides here. I think, you know, the solution that Mr. Alford laid out to not only promote those folks that have been waiting so many years for their promotions, but to move forward with that test that should have been administered, as Dr. Isom pointed out, in 2018. Both of these things, in my estimation, need to take place. It's pretty clear here that in order for us to expect our first responders to continue to put their lives on the line, We have to meet their expectations as their employers and those folks that support them through acts of valor and very dangerous ones. So that's really all I wanted to express here today. Just a great appreciation for the work that you all do for all of us.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah. So I mean, I think everybody understands this is a fairly complex issue. And I do believe that there are victims on both sides of this. So yeah, I feel for the firefighters who are standing back there right now, but also feel for the firefighters who haven't had an opportunity to take tests in 10 years, if not 15 years. So we have to recognize those people too. We are also in litigation on the police side in reverse. We have a stay of promotion of lieutenants on the police department, primarily because the list is too old. The police department employees sued because the promotional list for lieutenants is, in their opinion, past what the charter stipulates. And so we cannot promote lieutenants on the police department because the court has put a stay on our ability to do that. So on the police side, there's also an issue with a list that is way too old, which is the same on the fire side. So I just mentioned that.
Okay, but we're not being sued for
Isom,
a list.
if I can, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Isom, I can appreciate that. But again, I will say that the police department and fire department are totally different. In the fire department, we have a court decree that is not technically being adhered to. That's why I think the settlement, the situation should be done.
We disagree on
Should
that.
be made and the test should be given.
Yeah, I think we
So I
disagree
will
on what
interrupt
that states. And we also disagree on who has the authority to do it. Right.
That would be true. And to be everybody listening, Alderwoman Howard mentioned director of personnel, and the director of personnel, I believe, has signed off on a number of promotions. It's the director of public safety that will not sign off on them. So yes, I do agree with what you're saying there. When we see promotions given, we know that the director of personnel approves them and the chief. And I think a few years ago, the director of public safety had been signing off on them. And this is a unique situation because there hasn't been a time where the director of public safety did not sign off on them. So Alderwoman Howard mentioned the director of personnel, and then let me just state for the fact that the director of personnel had approved some promotions. The director of public safety did not sign off on them. So you're correct.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Dr. Isom just one question and I'll be done?
If it's real brief, because we really
is.
want to stick with the members to kind of,
Dr. Isom, how does promoting us deny all the other members of the fire department from taking a test? How does that interfere with that?
I mean, I can answer. I think the majority of the aldermen, and I can't speak for them, speak for myself. I think we feel the promotion should be made. I'm thinking about doing a resolution. If we have enough aldermen sign on, maybe they'll do something. But I think we're at least myself, we're on the same side that you're on. I think the promotion should be made. And on Dr. Isom's side, I agree that a new test needs to be done. I think both things need to happen. And I don't think we're gaining any ground having this in court. And I think we're tying up everything that way, So I agree with the current firefighters that the people that are up for promotion should be promoted. It's my opinion. And I also agree that a new test has to be made. And I'm going to put together a resolution encouraging that. And I think if enough older people sign on to the resolution, maybe there'll be some movement. If that answers, Dr. Isom, you're certainly welcome to answer. I think what we have here is that, and we'll see as the different aldermen speak. And I can only speak for myself, that I think both things should happen. And I don't think it needs to be settled in court. I think it needs to really be settled, basically, in a conversation, between the administration and the people that represent the firefighters, that we need to move on with this and move on and that's, it's my opinion. Dr. Isom, if you had a comment, if not, I'm going to keep going through the committee.
No, I keep going.
Okay. Alderwoman Pam Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's just, I just think it's a lot of wheels turning, and a lot of it is going back to personnel. The previous personnel director that did not follow through, that put these men and women in these positions. And so Dr. Isom coming after the fact is trying to look at what was come before him. And so it's just a lot of moving parts. And with us in litigation, and I know what it means when you're in litigation, it's kind of hard for us to make decisions, and it's in front of a court to try to decide which way they're going to go. So, I support these men and women should be promoted. I mean, it's easy to say, yeah. In the same voice, it's easy to say all the employees of the city of St. Louis should be treated better than what they're treated, because it's not just the public safety, it's the whole city employees that have not been given a fair shake, and it's through the personnel. So, I mean, I just think it's a lot of work that we have to do, and we just have to quit pointing fingers and try to look at how to start biting this elephant one piece at a time to make a success story for one of these departments. And so I too think that these people should be promoted, and I'm just trying to figure out, Dr. Isom, when would, so it's my understanding, let me get clear, the personnel department makes the test, correct? Okay, so now we're back waiting on personnel, because is it too late for them to make another test, or, how does that work?
Well, Alderwoman, it's my understanding, and I've been really pushing for this from day one to get a new test up and running. Prior to the last budget year, there was money to do a test, and that was when this administration first came in. For whatever reason, a test was not given. Okay. So I believe the money is there. We're at the process now where it is moving forward, and hopefully we will have a test in the next 6 months or so. I'm still not clear as to why it takes so long to put a test together. But certainly we are at the mercy of the personnel division to put this test on. So I would say, it may be a point at which we have to test. I mean, we have to promote at some time. I'm not saying that we will definitely not promote, but my goal is to have a new test in place to do further promotions. And also, I can't emphasize enough that what we're doing in terms of the structure of the fire department and EMS is not working. We all know that. So, yeah, we could go ahead and keep promoting and keep with the same structure, but we're going to get the same results. And we do have to put more of our resources, this is my opinion, and I know the fire department might disagree. We need to divert more of our resources, and that means money, because we got a limited amount of money. We need to move that money more towards EMS and paramedic side in terms of resources, because that is the bulk of the calls that we are getting. That is the major need that we have right now. And so, yes, as we move into this next budget year, which will be the, really the second budget year that we have been a part of, we're going to look at making those changes that put more emphasis on paramedics and EMS so that we have better pay, more resources to deliver that service. And as I said, it's a lot to go into in terms of what needs to be done. And I don't know that we have all the time to talk about my ideas in terms of a better structure. But that is my goal.
So my question, the people that we have here that have taken the test and they're eligible for promotion, where does that leave them? So, because I hear that we still waiting on personnel with the test. And so, but these people already took the test, and I know we're in litigation. So with litigations, does that stop them from being promoted, or I don't understand that part. That's what I'm confused.
No, the litigation, I think their litigation is to force the promotions. Is to say that, you know, once it's certified, we have no choice but to promote them. We disagree with that. But really it's whether or not, you know, there is a critical need for these promotions at this point in time. And the second thing is, how long does it take for us to get a new test? So there's two really things in my mind in terms of decision making.
So, okay, so they took the test, they passed, they're eligible for their promotion, correct? That's
Yes, they're certified for promotion.
okay. And so you're saying you're waiting on personnel to create a new test. And is this for the next round of people that come up that can take the test?
Right.
Okay, and so we're not promoting them because.
Well, my is twofold. One is that I don't think that at this point in time, I'm comfortable with the structure of the fire department in terms of how many captains and battalion chiefs we actually need. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is that this test is a 9-year-old test. And I firmly believe that there should have been a new test in place, and there needs to be a new test in place with new candidates.
Okay, so, but I'm not hearing about the people that's standing here. What are they doing? What are we doing with them? Because they've already jumped the hoops you told them to jump. And so that's just my concern. And it's not just the fire department, it's the employees, period, because we make decisions in midstream of processes that's already there. And so the people that follow the process. So what I'm saying,
Well,
okay,
I mean,
you followed it, but it's not gonna impact you because we're not giving it to you.
I get that though, but there are decisions that happen every day where people may not get promoted for various reasons. Just because they took the test doesn't mean they always get promoted. Had we had a test in 2018, these individuals wouldn't be on the list. They could potentially be on the list, but they would have had to take the test over. It could have been another different list. So, you know, I hear what you're saying, but, you know, I'm giving you the reasons why I think at this point in time, we should not be promoting. That doesn't mean that we won't eventually promote some people. But at this point in time, I don't see the need to promote.
Okay, I get what you're saying, and I'm not going back and forth. I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with it because I'm an employee and I took the test and I'm for promotion, and then you come up with something different, and I would be upset. And so that's just where I'm at. And I understand the craziness with personnel, and I understand the litigation. I understand all that. But at the end of the day, I have to look at the employees that did what we asked them to do, and we didn't accommodate them. And so that's all I'm looking at. I see what you're saying. Well, I'm looking at it different. So, you know, maybe it's a conversation that needs to be at the table with you and the chief and the union people to say, okay, how can we come in the middle? Because I just see employees that are losing faith in us as a city. And we're losing so many employees. And we're bleeding employees and nobody sees the urgency in us trying to resolve these issues. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I don't agree. So thank you.
I just want to throw out a comment too about courts. And I was at Bartolino's Osteria this few months back. And there was a group of police officers sitting around the table that all sued over promotions that all won. And were basically saying, well, I got more than you got. And so I don't see the advantage. We weren't funding the pension system properly long before this administration. And the fire department sued. We had to pass Prop P, I believe it was, back so that we can actually, because the court said, no, you have to fund this. And we didn't have the millions and millions of dollars that we're not, court cases are not the best way to settle stuff. I just see them as, when I look at the police that feel that they didn't get promoted properly, that sued and won, and I'm sure you're familiar with them. And it just brought that to mind because they were sitting at a table at, Bartolino's. But, the pension system, I mean, we could have probably worked out a much better deal had we would have been willing, and this is definitely goes back multiple administrations, but there's no winning in court. I just, I mean, any attorney will tell you that, anyway, I'm going to move on, but I just, I don't see this as, but anyway, I'm going to move on. Alderman Bosley, are you with us anywhere still, or yes, you are?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, I appreciate you all. I know these things are very, very intricate and get multi-layered. There have been many, many years of things being done a certain way. And I do believe that is what we are, I think as a city looking at trying to correct some of those things that have been running. And it looks like at some point in time did work, but seemed like at this point in time to be needing some type of corrections. And generally, things that have not been corrected in this city for a long time need so much correcting because things have changed so significantly over the years that we haven't made, changes that sometimes it halts the process in place. And those individuals that are in line in any way, shape, form, or fashion, waiting for a promotion or some chance that they have been waiting for to receive the benefits of someone who preceded them within the scope of the job that they're working on, and looking forward to eventually receiving those benefits. So I think, I'm not 1000% sure that the questions to my to me have been completely answered, and why this is I can kind of see to some degree where it is that we're going with it, but I don't think it's been completely answered. I think, which is where some of the confusion is coming from, is why the need to kind of halt the entire process on promotions are right now at this time, while we went on the personnel to come up with a new test. I think I sort of understand it, but I think that if this hasn't happened, maybe once again, like the Alderwoman said, Alderwoman Boyd, some folks need to see if we can get people to the table if that hasn't happened, and see what those conversations look like between kind of all the parties there, and have maybe a few of us at the table as well, then all the people or folks from the Public Safety Committee. Therefore, some of these questions can be long and drawn out the way we like them to be drawn out, so there can be a significantly better understanding of what decisions are being made and why. We never ever want to make the police department, fire department, any department feel like their skill set isn't worthy enough to be rewarded for the hard work that they've done or the skill set that they've achieved while being on the job, hours that they've worked, which would put them in line for a promotion. So anytime that our folks do apply for promotions equally, amongst departments, that's something that we should be able to have a baseline for, so folks will know that they are not only eligible, they're next in line to receive that promotion when it becomes available, when that position becomes available. So to the fire department and everyone that is working for it, I'd like to first, once again, let you all know that I don't think this is any way made to, I believe, be callous or stop members who are doing an excellent job from being rewarded for doing that excellent job. I do believe, unfortunately, sometimes with situations like this and with changes being made, once again, folks that have been doing an excellent job and folks that are up in line right before those changes are being made are the ones that are impacted when we have to make significant changes. And hopefully, if these conversations go the way we see them, folks will see the benefit of what it is the public safety director is saying in terms of waiting after you get that information, after we get that the new test, and how it could potentially impact the individuals who have been waiting at the same time. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but I'm sure that those are conversations that I would like to know the kind of ins and outs of. And I don't know if other members on the committee are interested in those things as well, but those for me help paint a picture in the full scope of what it is that we're doing and how it's going to impact the city negatively and positively as we make decisions for the future, waiting on the present to manifest as well. So once again, we definitely appreciate you all. Mr. Chairman, are we looking at taking a vote on this?
There is no vote.
Okay.
This is informational. I plan to bring a resolution after getting all these back and forth. I do plan to bring a resolution encouraging the director or whoever to make these promotions. It's a resolution. It's certainly up to them, but maybe if enough aldermen and alderwomen sign on, maybe it'll make a difference. But I want to make sure we had all the facts and I stated at the very beginning, I think we make the promotions, move on and have the test. And I don't care if we do them all on the same day or whatever, but I think all this needs to happen. And but these are my feelings, and I certainly don't speak for all the members of the board. So there's not a vote. This was actually me trying to get as many facts on both sides, and I actually agree on things on both sides. I think promotion should be made. I think a new test should be made. So, I mean, this is just me trying to gather as many facts so that I, can put together what I believe is the right thing to do. So, but there's no vote. This isn't a vote.
But I mean, in terms of the resolution, you are
There is
going
no
to put forth a
resolution.
like at
Yeah,
some point in time. Okay.
Yeah, I plan to do that shortly, but it had to make sense. A resolution simply saying make the promotions with, wouldn't be the proper resolution. A resolution would probably be somewhat, we encourage you to make these changes, to do the promotions, to get this test together, that, how it would be, and it's just a resolution. We can't force them to do anything, but, I thought if maybe we had all the facts and enough aldermen signed on, that would be the way to go. This is me. This is not, I can't speak for everybody in this board in this committee or on the board of aldermen. So.
Understood. And the reason I'm sorry,
There's no vote. I'm sorry.
Understood. And the reason I asked, I was just going to ask before we, are able to vote on a resolution or anything. It just, it'd just be nice to know that everybody at least got to the table and had a conversation with each other. You know, if that hasn't happened, once again, the public safety director, the firefighters here, and personnel, possibly yourself and the chairwoman. Once again, a few of us, but I think it'd just be nice to really have that conversation so we can say that we all have,
Well,
we've done that.
And maybe that's how the resolution also could have those words in there that this is what this is about, and this is why we should all contribute to how we move forward. I know my strong feelings where I'm at, but again, I'm one person, and certainly.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. That was I will end my question in there in comments. Thank you all very much, and thank you for attending today.
Thank you, Alderman Oldenburg. Oldenburg. I'm sorry, Alderman Oldenburg. You're up next. I'm sorry, Alderman. He texted me and said he could not be here. He had to leave. Alderman Brett Ryan, and he had another meeting, so he couldn't stay. Alderman Brett Ryan.
Thank you, Chairman Vaccaro. And I'd like to also thank Director Isom and Al from 73 and Captain Evelyn and the men and women standing behind him for appearing here today. I've actually heard from several of my constituents about this issue. There's some pretty strong feelings about it. I think there's a lot of frustrations here. So I actually went back and looked at the decree itself, and it seems pretty straightforward to me. When I look at page 3, paragraph 1, the current eligible lists, it says the current eligible list for fire captain and fire battalion chief generated as a result of the disputed 2013 promotional examinations will continue to be used for promotions until such time that the director certifies new eligible lists for fire captain and fire battalion chief, respectively, based upon the results of exams to be given under the terms and conditions agreed to herein. The city will not intentionally delay promotions from the current list in anticipation of new lists being certified, nor will the city intentionally delay the next exam to extend the use of the current list. Right now, we don't have a new list. We don't have a new test. So the way that I understand it from the list that we're looking at right now is this 2013 list. These are folks who took the test. They did well enough to pass the test. The director of personnel signed off on their promotions. They're doing I think the most important thing here is they're doing the job on a day-to-day. They are doing these jobs. They're putting their butts on the line every day, responding to these calls, responding to these fires. The Board of Aldermen allocated the funds for these promotions. We need to just promote these men and women. It's that simple. We need to push these promotions through. There's no reason not to. We can figure out the issues with the testing and with any lists moving forward. There's no reason to deny these men and women the promotions. One of the bonuses, as Captain Evelyn said, is that it will greatly increase the diversity of our fire department, particularly the brass of the fire department. It triples the number of women in supervisory positions. We put more African Americans in supervisory positions. And hopefully we can dodge some litigation costs as a result of holding these things up. Because as I said, I think the decree is pretty clear here. We can solve all of these issues moving forward, but I don't see the need to drag our feet on this, especially when it's not an issue of the money not being there, and it's not an issue of uncertainty on whether these men and women are capable of doing the job. They show day in and day out that they're capable of doing the job. We've allocated the money. I'm not sure what we're doing here. We just need to promote these people. I think it's as clear as that. And that's all I have to say on the issue. Thank you all so much for being in attendance here today.
Thank you. And we agree on stuff, and you being an attorney, no, the worst place to litigate someone is in court. It's better to settle it before you get there, because it's not a good place to be. Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard.
Chair, pardon me. she put in a text
Oh, did she?
message in the chat
Oh,
that
okay.
she's unavailable because of her afternoon errands.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I just, I just saw, I'm just looking at the chat now and I'm sorry. So last but not least, Alderman James Page, you get to wind us up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'll make this real brief. I would like to sincerely thank all of the people who presented here today. I'd like to thank our first responders, fire EMS, for continuing to stay the course, continuing to do the job while these issues of testing, promotion eligibility lists, and promotions, while all those issues are sorted out. So thank you for staying the course. Other than that, I don't have other comments to add to those of my colleagues that came earlier. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Anyone off of the committee, aldermen, off the committee, alderwomen off the committee, if you want to pop on and raise your hand. If not, I do want to thank everyone, including Dr. Isom. He has always he knows that these are probably not sessions he would like to sit in, but he has been gracious enough every time to, when I call him in for a committee hearing, he does make time to show up. And I will give him that. We're probably so far on opposite ends of the world on this, but I do appreciate the fact that he's here. To the firefighters, you deserve, if you took the test, you deserve to be promoted. My intention was to gather as much information, to do a resolution. I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that the largest majority of all their people are going to sign on to the resolution encouraging to make these promotions. If we get sued and end up paying back salaries and all these things, the cost could be tremendous. And we've seen this in the police department where we've been sued. Not only do we end up having to lose in court, we end up paying all these back salaries, and it doesn't. Court is not the place. I understand what we're trying to do, and I think for the firefighters that Local 73 represents them too. They represent the people that are not on the list. So I think they're in favor of the test, but I think they're also fighting for justice for the people that have taken the test that that should be promoted. Anyway, I think we can, unless someone on the committee has something else to say, I did want to make it clear that I appreciate the firefighters taking their time, especially after a busy night last night. I do appreciate Dr. Isom, who could easily not make himself available. That every time I've asked him to show up, even on stuff that we know we're going to be like, knocking heads over, he's here. So, so I do thank everybody for showing up. My intentions are to probably introduce a resolution not for this Friday, possibly for this Friday, but the timing of how fast we have to get it in, it would have to be written before tomorrow morning. So it would be my intention for the next meeting to introduce a resolution encouraging the administration to make these promotions and to, as quickly as possible, put a new test together. And, and that again, is there anyone else on the committee that would have a comment other than that, or disagree with me, or you don't even have to agree or disagree? Anyone else have comments that they would like to make before we wrap this up?
Mr. Chair, from Local 73, I just wanted to thank Director Isom for making the time, especially this week. We've dealt with a lot. So we really appreciate you always coming in here and giving us the time. So thank you.
Right. I had to say that about him because, like I said, we haven't come out to any boxing matches in the office because he'd win, but so I avoid that. But I do think, and I think that I'm hoping that with the whole tsunami of aldermen, that we can come at this and get this done. That's my hope and my prayer.
Yeah. What I would also ask, and certainly the board can do a resolution, but I think all as a city, we need to think more globally about our issues. And that's what I'm trying to do, is not think about, I understand from a personal standpoint, promotions are important to individuals personally. But if we want to repair some of these broken systems, as you do this resolution, I think you need to think about a resolution that talks about a bend towards restructuring in which we deliver better services. And so I would urge, if the board is going to simply say we need to do promotions, then the next resolution needs to be, how do we really think about some of the things that I'm saying that will actually fix the delivery of services? And a lot of it has to do with some of the things that were raised about, different positions, paramedic firefighters, other things that are actually going to make the delivery of services better. And so if we keep thinking about things in a vacuum, as I said, I'm not minimizing the importance of these promotions for individuals, but if you're looking at the city as a whole, there are really things that we need to think about in terms of restructuring these particular services that I think are going to be better as a whole, even adding in dispatchers into that mix that are really going to make our city much better. So I would just throw that in as a final comment.
And I will, not only will I support that resolution, we've worked together on like the jail bill that, which the courts took out now and are letting us go over and do that. We worked together on that. And there's a lot that we can do together. And I'm certainly on board with these changes for the future. And I think we can work together, and you got my commitment that I'm with you on those. We just are on opposite on this. If you have a leaky faucet in your house and it's dripping, and you're consulting multiple plumbers and thinking about it and thinking, well, maybe we should. Sometimes you just need to fix the problem that's in front of you. Knock that wall down, fix the problem, move on, and then, and then it's fixed. It's fixed for the future. And I think we're probably as close together on a lot of things as we are far apart on a few things. And I think that we've been in plenty of conversations, and the stuff we did for the jail and for the people in the jail, I think is just off the chain. I think it's really gone a long way to doing things. So we're probably as close together on stuff. There's only a handful of stuff we probably disagree on, and this is one of, but I'm willing to also help with the second resolution. Just so you know, Alderwoman Davis, I'm sorry, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I totally support, if we're going to do a resolution, it needs to be a comprehensive resolution, because the things that Dr. Isom just mentioned can only help with the progress of getting things corrected. We can't only just deal with one issue, because at the end of the day, we really won't have anything to say about this if it remains in a court situation. We'll just have to follow what the court says, whatever that is. So I'm hoping that there will be some conversation that takes place in the next 24, 48 hours that can get some remedy here. Because the first thing is, Dr. Eisen didn't create this problem. Now, I know people are saying he's not signing off on the promotions, but we don't know all that was put in front of them up until this point from the previous personnel director. And you all know, most of you all have been here through this for a while. That was a hot mess, okay? So we need to figure out something in the next few hours, because I'm telling you, if this stays in court, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. We need to get away from this. We need to get away, and we need to plan for the future. And there's a lot of work to be done. And I think that with everybody's input, it can get done, and it can get done in a period of time that's reasonable. Not talking about 2 or 3 years of studies and all kinds of nonsense, because it's really not required. There are too many places around this country that have best practices that we can use. So I'm interested in having a comprehensive resolution. Thank you.
Well, so if in the next couple days, the fire department and the director resolve this, the first resolution wouldn't even need to be made. If the promotions are being made, my resolution goes away. I agree, 2 different resolutions. Yes, we should have something, saying that we as a board are resolved to making these changes, and I'll commit to helping make these changes. And I would hope maybe, like you said, in the next day or 2, they all get together and they come up with a way, maybe these promotions are made, my resolution doesn't even have to happen. And we get them to, the fire guys, to help us with the resolution that says, look, we won. Because I know that Local 73 represents all of the firefighters, not they're just the people waiting for promotion. They represent the people that want to take the test so they can get promotions. So I'm pretty sure we got to, I just want to move past the first dam. And so yeah, Alderwoman Davis, we agree, but I don't want to make a resolution with mixed. I want a very simple resolution. We need to avoid mitigation, that we need to move on with promotions. And simply that, just simple as it is. The second resolution, yes, I do believe there should be, we need to find out what's taking so long on these tests. How do we get this moving forward? How do we help this in the future? What changes could be made? These are my thoughts. And Alderwoman Boyd, you have your hand up.
Yeah, all I wanted to say, I agree with you all. And I also want everybody to be real clear. This is not, in no disrespect to the fire department, it's not just about that department. And so as the Public Safety Committee, I hear what we're saying about a resolution. And so what I just keep thinking is reimagining public safety. So, I think that's something that we as elected officials can work with Dr. Isom to try to say, okay, how can we look at this for the future? Because this is not going to be a quick fix. We do have a new personnel director, but they have to be in the conversation to understand that the city has lost the population. And so we have to look at things, how they can happen and make it better for our residents. So that's all, I agree with what we're saying, but at the end of the day, it's not just the fire department, it's all employees, it's the police department, it's everybody. So, how do we start working on that to start making things happen? I'm tired of talking about it. What do we do? And I referred to Alderwoman Davis because she's a senior alder person, not in age, just being here. But I just want her to kind of, help us, because we got to quit talking about this. And we got to start looking at how is it really going to look for our city. So that's just where I'm at.
Well, I don't disagree. And I think even in talking to the firefighters, putting together a call center, if it's done appropriately. My understanding that there is a ground to build a new facility, and I think cross-training dispatchers and trying to figure that mess out. This is just something that every time I turn around, I'm getting calls, and it's something that I feel is a fairness thing. That's just, and again, I've made it clear, I don't speak for the whole Board of Aldermen, I speak for myself. And that's why, and Dr. Isom, if something in the next few days happens and you and the fire department get together and come up with something, that would be just, I'll start my novena this week, being Catholic, I'll start my novena. I wish we could move, because it seems simple. If the personnel director, well, I don't want to debate all this here. I just think we shouldn't move forward. It's just my opinion on both sides. I think we need to move forward, get these guys their promotions. Let's avoid being sued, having to pay back pay, and it's just happened to us multiple times in the police department. Again, I'm not making that up. My friend Greg was with me. And there was a group of guys that had recently left the department, either for whatever reasons, and had sued over promotions not being made. And it was almost a joke. It was like them saying, well, I got more than you got. Well, in the long run, I get more than you get, because, and I thought it was pretty sad, but funny at the same time, that that they had to sue, and we, in court, even if it's even in divorce cases, usually you pay, by the time you pay the attorneys, you have nothing left to give to either one of the two spouses that are left. The only people that win are the attorneys. And if we end up having to pay back pay and all that, it isn't worth the fight. This is not, to me, this is not the fight to take. There's so many fights out there that need to be taken. How do we deal with the refuge issue? How do we deal with, there's so many fights out there that are, that are really have tough solutions. This seems like a no-brainer to me, but anyway, and anyone else on the committee? And I did give firefighter Al an opportunity to say something. I also give Dr. Dan the opportunity to, if you have a closing statement, either one of you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. And members on the committee, let me first start out by saying thank you, as always, for giving us the opportunity to come and have a great discussion. I appreciate us just, I appreciate the back and forth, the debate. I appreciate the ending comment. So thank you very much. And if I may, I'd like to say thank Dan Clark for being here, and also Dan Evelyn and all the members of St. Louis Fire Department that's standing back there. Thank you for your participation. We appreciate you guys, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Dr. Isom, would you want to close with anything, or?
No, I just thank you, Chairman Vaccaro and other members for convening this. It is an important discussion. I would just say my efforts really is to provide the best possible service we can for the community. That is my purpose. I think that this all fits within a more complex sort of assessment of where we should go in the fire department. And that is my position, looking at this holistically. And promotions is a part of that, but it's not the only part of it. So if we get to the point where we feel that we need to make promotions off of this list, we will. But that will be based on need, not necessarily based on simply because there's an opening or multiple openings. And I think that is the prerogative of leadership and management, is to decide, even though there may be openings, whether or not they're needed or not. So if in fact we get to that point, we will make them. We hope that at some point in time, there will be a new promotional list, because I do believe that is another factor. And it only fair that that list be done as it's stated in the agreement between the Personnel Division and Fire in 2013 or so.
Okay. Unless anyone on the committee has anything else they want to add, then I will actually, I will excuse Alderwoman Pius. She had told me that she would be late or may not be able to make it. Other than that, I would take a motion that we adjourn. If somebody wants to leave, want to go home.
So moved.
Second. Second.
We got a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, we are adjourned. We'll see you guys next Wednesday, I believe.